much would they have expected to have paid for, I don't know, a week in one of your studios?
Well, a week in a top-class studio is one thing. As I say, this was only like a small demo studio, but there was 3 months where...
3 months of weekends and stuff like that.
We didn't charge them because we'd done it as a favour as mates and that, but, you know, I suppose it would have cost them a couple of grand, you know, in time and stuff like that. As I say, over 3 months. So, yeah, about that.
What about the beer bill?
We were buying all the beer as well, like, you know what I mean?
That's about
5-6 grand.
But that early bar bill was to come back to haunt Oasis later in their career. With demo in hand, Oasis went on the road. As a band, their first earnings came solely from performing, and those early gigs were religiously recorded by Mum Peggy in her very own scrapbook. Here's a peek. To find out what kind of fees the band commanded in those early days, I talked to manager of the Lomax, who booked a newly signed Oasis.
Hi, Shai, you doing all right? Good to meet you. Okay, yeah?
Yeah, nice one.
Come on in.
Here's the ad, Oasis and Whiteout. Obviously they were headlining.
Headlining, yeah.
Tickets, £3 advance, £4 on the door.
Yeah. We have the contract, as you can see.
Oasis, Wednesday the 13th of April 1994, obviously at the Lomax. Now then, here's the interesting part. Salary. 125 quid.
Yeah, I think that was 100 quid, probably 100 quid for beer.
Right.
5 quid for transport.
So they're playing at a loss, aren't they, really?
They're playing at a big loss, starting times, billing, and the most important thing for the lads was
here we go.
What beers they were getting.
Here we go. 24 cans of lager.
Premium.
Was that enough? Quality lager, yeah,
no,
whatever that is. 4 litres of water, soft drinks,
which was
crisps, and
which they never touched.
They never touched.
They never touched.
Just the booze.
And they asked for more. They asked for more beer.
And what else have we got? What's this? What's this here?
Basically, that's the settlement.
Right.
That was the settlement at the end of the night.
So obviously they had that 125 quid was obviously split, but not just between them, but whoever was driving the van and the whole lot.
Yeah, how they seem to divvy it up as.
So it's just free beer, really, wasn't it, at that stage?
Yeah, yeah.
Free beer and a chance to play.
What you see today is what you're seeing then, and I don't think it's an act. The talented people, you know, these people are not made; they're born. Good set of lads, even though they are from Manchester.
These early performances only earned the band £13,000, but one gig in particular was to please their bank manager a lot more. It took place at Glasgow's King Tut's Club. This rarely shown performance was filmed by a tourist in the audience who had no idea who the band were. Also in the audience was a man that would change their lives forever.
And I was pretty drunk. I'd had, by this point, about 4 or 5 double Jack Daniels and Coke, so I was like a bit wavery, you know. They were all hanging about in that back wall up there, and I sort of like just basically went up to Noel here. I think it was round here actually, and I said, "I'm Alan McGee, do you want a record deal?" And he gave me a demo tape, and I went, "You're all right, you don't need to give me a tape." And he went, "I'll take a tape," and that was it.
Now Oasis really were rocking and rolling.
Alan called me up from Manchester after the famous King Tut's legendary night, and he just ranted down the phone, Oasis, Oasis, Oasis. He just said, these guys, the attitude's fantastic. He played this demo, which today it was unsurpassed in the power of it. And you heard it once and you just said, yeah, that is just some, this is amazing.
The deal was for 40 grand, split equally between all 5 band members. Not one of the bigger deals in the history of rock and roll, but it was a start. But Liquid Assets has discovered that Oasis, contrary to popular belief, were not actually signed to Alan McGee's Creation Records. Noel knew that to make the most money out of the music industry, you had to be big in America, and Creation's stateside partners couldn't match Noel's ambitions.
The trouble that Creation had was that whoever was licensing their records in America, Oasis didn't like. So Oasis were actually signed to Sony and not Creation. But that wasn't really made clear, because if it had been made clear, it would have killed the indie label, the cred that they had at the time, you see.
So, Oasis signed to a label with more global selling power than Creation could guarantee. And talking for the very first time on television about that deal, Liquid Assets can reveal the man who actually signed Oasis.
A lot of people don't know that, but I was the guy who actually did the contract, yes. By the time we actually signed the contract, they were already looking extremely strong. I mean, everybody had suddenly got how good this band were. And the normal course then is that a manager, and more importantly possibly the lawyer, will say, okay, we can really go and make a big deal now, you know. So, and they would have accepted bids, and it would have turned into a bidding war, which is kind of good fun for the artists for a while, because they've been courted and offered drugs and flown to America in private jets, but actually gets them down in the end, and they don't necessarily go with the right people. And I think that's where Noel was very smart, actually. His head wasn't turned by the people offering him drugs and private planes and stuff, you know.
From the very beginning, Noel was clearly a canny operator, because the publishing deal that he signed with Sony was 3 times as big as the advance that the band actually got as a whole. And it just showed that Sony knew that they were onto a good thing, that they were confident the band was going to go far. But it also showed that Noel knew what he was doing. He knew that as a songwriter, he deserved more money than the rest of the band did just for standing on stage and strumming their guitars and singing.
Older brother Noel was now starting to bring in the big bucks. His publishing deal was worth a reputed £125,000. From the very beginning, the Gallagher brothers showed that they were ideal headline material. Stories of their nights out on the town were becoming the talk of music magazines and tabloid newspapers. But in the eyes of millions of their fans, they could do no wrong. They were fulfilling their fantasies. They were getting banned from flying Cathay Pacific, getting barred from Manchester's Dry Bar, and they even got kicked out of here, the notorious Columbia Hotel, regular stop-off point for all wannabe rock and roll stars.
They moved down to London and became absorbed into, you know, the West End cliterati, you know.
The tabloid press builds you up, because then it can sell a lot of papers revealing your drug habits or your habit of sleeping with kangaroos or whatever it is that you get up to. And I think what Oasis did was quite clever. They went straight to the tabloid press and said, we sleep with loads of girls, we take loads of drugs, you know, and they got it all out in the open, so there couldn't be any, you know, Liam takes cocaine.
There was no shock.
There was no shock, because it was like, yeah, we know, he's been telling us on the record.
It was stealing the thunder, really, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Before they...
yeah, it was a clever move. It was like, yeah, we're complete scallywags, and we, you know, we do all this, you know, so what?
At the time, the Star, the Mirror and the Sun were moving more and more to celebrity and pop music as being newsworthy of a daily paper. He were ready-made stories, you know. If they went out in London, somebody get thumped, somebody get, you know, there'd be some altercation, and it just happened, you know.
How many of the stories were true, and how many would you say, you know, were exaggerated?
80-20. You know, there's always...
In terms of 80% true?
No.
You need to be yourself. You can't be no one else. I know a girl called Elsa, she's into...
But even if the tabloids loved Liam, not everyone was enamoured by his be-yourself attitude.
There is this suspicion that they're above their station now. Manc attitude. They're a bit cocky, considering they come from a council estate and they're rather poor. Do you know what I mean? They're not doffing the cap to us. I mean, for God's sake, but everyone wants to pull them down, you know, for being a bit cocky. All the things which, if you kind of Tara Palmer Tompkinson, or if you're sort of Prince Philip, you're allowed to be in a way.
Yeah.
You know, if you're posh, you're allowed to be like that, and we expect it of you, and we'll doff the cap and think, well, that's the British aristocracy for you. Some yobbos from a council estate act like that. It's like, kill them.
You guys see Oasis?
I might have done his asking.
Oh, me.